All right, ladies, so we're going to look at this section of text looking at quoting. There are a couple of rules with quoting, as you well know, and you can find some of these rules in our MLA handbook. You can also find them on the Purdue OWL website, which is also very useful. But we're going to look at two different items here. We have sort of a quote coming in here, and then we have another sort of section of quoting down here. What I want to show you are some of the differences we see between these. Now, in the first quote, I'm going to call it quote number 1 here. You notice that it has many, many lines. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 lines almost. And if you are typing this and you notice you have many lines, you have to pull back. As she typed it within the text, just as part of the paragraph here, it is too long. You have to cut it down to under 4 lines of essay. If it's under 4 lines, it's okay to be in the text. If it's over 4 lines like this is, you would have to change it to what is called a block quote. Now this one down here, number 2, quote, is a block quote. Okay? This is an in-text quote number 1, but it is actually incorrect. So let's finish looking at the first quote. The other item we have an issue here is this. When you have a quote, now let's imagine it's less than 4 lines and it would be appropriately placed inside the text. We would, yes, indeed, keep the quotation marks, yes, because it will tell us, hey, here's a quote from a piece of text. Now, our situation here at the end in the in-text citation, it would just read Austin 108. We learned freshman year and sophomore year that you need the author's last name, if you have one, and the page number. You do not need the comma, you do not need the word page in here at all. Now, if this was a second quote that appeared in the paper, this would just be 108, because if we've already cited Austin, we do not need to recite Austin as we go forward in a text in one piece if we're using one item of sourcing. Okay, let's take a look at this block quote right down here. All right, the general setup of this is fairly nice. She has her introduction here, which reads, Charlotte Lucas even admits to not having any romantic feelings for Collins, saying, but the comma is inappropriate. You would use a colon. All right, that's the first signal of a block quote is coming. You're going to use a colon. Then you, yes, indeed, drop down to the next line and you indent 2 tabs. Okay, and you indent 2 tabs the whole time in a block quote, so it stands out, so it looks like a block. The third thing I want to look at here is the quotations. Absolutely no quotation marks. A quotation is to show something standing out. And don't you think that the block quote makes it stand out enough? You don't need the quotations. So when you use a block quote, you do not need the quotations. Now this in-text citation here is correct because we're coming, the last thing we read up here was either Austin 108 or just 108, so we do not need to repeat Austin in here. Notice after a block quote, you go right back to the left justified positioning of your text. Okay, you're not indenting. This is not a new paragraph right after the block quote. It is still within the same paragraph. Okay, so recapping here, number 1, you need to make sure your quotes, if you're using them in text, are under 4 lines of text. If they're over 4 lines, you need to block quote them, as in the second example here, circled in yellow. A couple items with the in-text citation here, it's Austin 108 with, notice the period at the end, or 108 with the period at the end. And then we have the block quote down here. Oh, another item. Now this drives me crazy. I don't know why MLA changed this, but the period in a block quote is before. So you would have your typing marriage state. You would not use your quotation marks. You would use your 125 as normally, but the period in a block quote comes before. I have really no good reason for that. I don't love that. That's the one thing I would change if I could. But this is how it goes. So please consult this. Please compare it to your papers and see what you have.